Have you ever gotten into a routine? You do something so many times in a specific way that it becomes sort of ingrained in you, like a habit that you can't stop. I have. Every Thursday morning, I go to the gym. Then, after my workout, I drive to the grocery store, pick up my groceries for the week, drive home, put the groceries up, then I study until dinner time. It's a routine. It's the pattern for my Thursdays every single week. But things change. That will not be my regular routine forever. Either fortunately or unfortunately, something will change eventually, and I will have to change as a result. I will have to change what I'm doing and the way I do things, because things change and time continues to tick. There is nothing I nor anyone else can do to prevent that, because everything changes. The seasons change, the weather changes, technology changes, even people change for better or worse. God even calls us to change, to live differently than how we were before. The world is a much different place than when I was a kid. Smartphones weren't a thing when I was in elementary school. My first phone, in fact, was a flip phone, if you remember those things. But now we have a small brick with a touch screen that can do everything a computer can, all in our own pockets. The world has changed. Most of us, despite our best efforts or resistance, have changed with it. Even the Amish, who are against technology, have to use it now. They have to use things like phones and computers for their businesses because otherwise they can't compete. They've changed. They had to. I myself have changed a lot as well. Most of it due to God and His enormous influence on my life. But I'd be lying if I said this world hasn't changed me a lot as well. I've had to adapt over the years to many things because everything keeps changing. Even the people right in front of me are changing. Even if you don't want to admit it right now, you're changing. But why? Why does everything have to change? Why can't things just stay the same? Why can't we just keep doing what we've always done? Because the world is constantly moving, constantly shifting, constantly changing. Humanity was made in part to progress God's creation, to develop it further, to change it from a very good creation to the perfect creation it was always meant to be. Don't get me wrong on this, though. We've screwed up pretty much everything we've tried to do. All the tools we have that could be used to better the world are often just used to make it worse. But the world must progress for the better of the next generations to come. We have to change for better and for worse. For our children and their children and their children's children. So they can have a better world and learn from our mistakes. But not just for them, for ourselves as well. We don't change and adapt, we'll never learn new things. We'll be stuck in place in a world that's always changing. We won't be able to effectively bring God's will on earth as it is in heaven. And listen, I know change is hard. When I decided to follow Christ, I didn't imagine I would end up studying and preparing 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. And it wasn't easy making that decision, but I made that change for God and the people I would soon serve and help. It was hard to accept that kind of drastic change to my life. I was afraid and scared. I thought it would be painful. I thought it would be impossible. I was comfortable doing what I was doing every day, studying maybe 20 to 30 minutes a day and taking my time with it. Discipleship was a serious commitment, and I was uncertain it would be worth the effort. I thought of all sorts of excuses to not make this change. Ultimately, what made me make this change was my love and commitment to God. I also understand that when we have put so much effort into something or have invested so much of our time into it, it sucks when we have to stop or change. It can make it feel like we wasted all our efforts, that none of it was worth it. But that is never the case. There is always something to take from the experience. Something good always comes out of it. From the lessons we've learned, to the people we've helped, to just the experience of it. We have done something. We have tried something. And we can apply what we've learned through that to everything else we do. Even if we fail, even if it doesn't succeed, despite our best efforts. And listen, I know how painful it is when we have to stop doing the things we love and have been doing for years. When I first joined my church, we had a community breakfast program. Everyone from the neighborhood would come and we would provide free breakfast and fellowship. But unfortunately, for a lot of different reasonable reasons, that had to be stopped. We couldn't continue it. Something that was beloved had to come to an end. A lot of people never healed from it ending. And nothing really replaced the void community breakfast left. But I have hope that someday something will. I think our energy at the end of it could have been focused better. We let our passion for helping people burn out at that time. I believe that's where we went wrong. You see, while we had to shut down community breakfast, that opened us up to a world of different possibilities. There was still a very needy world beyond our walls, and there always will be. But it's up to us to not let our passion burn out. Events and programs will come and go, but so long as we are willing to keep fighting, we can still put plenty of good into the world, even when the world doesn't want us to. That's just another reason why being able to change is so important, so that we can be the best servants we can be, so that we can help people the best way we can, so that we can help the most people we can. But not all change is scary and hard. A lot of the time, change is good. Earlier, I talked about how I made the commitment to study and prepare 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. I can honestly say that this is the best change I have ever made in my life. I understand God so much better than I did before. I understand and know more about the Bible than I ever had before. I understand God's will for me better now. Even my sermon writing has improved significantly. But the thing that has made me the happiest is that I have never been closer to God. And each day I feel that close connection with God. That's not the only time in my life hard changes have worked out for the better. When I've changed jobs, I've always ended up in a better position and happier than I was before. When I moved out of my aunt's, I learned how to take care of myself. I even learned how to cook, and I really enjoy cooking. I have made so many changes in my life, and more often than not, I have ended up better for them. My life has been made richer and more full. So change isn't all bad. In fact, it can be a wonderful thing and a great opportunity. But the thing is, we have to let it be a wonderful thing. If we don't, then it becomes harder and harder to change, until eventually it feels impossible. But change can be fun and exciting. Like making new friends, or getting a promotion, or starting a new job. Even finding new ways to reach those in need of our help can be fun, so long as we accept it and let it be. But I know we crave stability and certainty. In a world that is always changing, we need something stable, some solid ground that won't change. And that's where God comes in. He hasn't changed. He's never changed. He's been the same God that we know today since before creation. From Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 to Revelations chapter 22, verse 21, and that last amen, God remains the same. He is the only constant. If you want something to hold on to that doesn't change and won't change, hold on to God, for he has never changed. Malachi chapter 3, verse 6, "For I, the Lord, do not change." I used to think he changed from the Old Testament to the New. But as I read and reread the Bible, I realized the only thing that changed was me. My eyes were opened to who the Lord was this whole time, the same God he's always been. I know we are all uncomfortable when we get to certain parts of the Old Testament, but what if I told you the parts that make you uncomfortable are the ones you should pay closest attention to, because they're not always what they seem. The Bible's wording is exceptionally specific. Take the book of Joshua, when the Israelites start conquering the Promised Land, as an example. One of the biggest misconceptions is that God ordered a genocide of the people in the Promised Land. But the wording in the Bible tells a different story. God says he will clear away many nations before them, and when he does, they are supposed to utterly destroy them. He doesn't say people. He says nations, an important distinction. And if you're paying attention, the Bible references the people as still around afterwards. As further evidence, the story of Rahab is proof. If the people were to be utterly destroyed, Rahab and her whole family would have had to go. But after she helps the Israelites, she becomes one of them. And God even gave her a spot in Jesus' lineage. So the real goal all along was to drive the people from the land by destroying their kingdoms and all their modes of worship of their false gods. So they would have to leave. But even then, was God justified to do this? Is this a character of a God who is just to take the land from these people? To this, I say yes. It still is. If you had paid attention in the Old Testament, God tells Abraham in Genesis chapter 15, verse 16, the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete. God knew that the people of the land would not repent or change, but they would only get worse despite his best efforts. Yet he still waited until they were too far gone to bring the Israelites in. God would give them mercy and a chance to change, like he does with all nations. We know this is true from the story of Jonah, among others, that he shows concern for all nations. Jonah chapter 4, verse 11. And should I not be concerned about Nineveh, that great city in which there are more than 120,000 persons who do not know their right hand from their left, and also many animals? Nineveh was a city whose culture at that time was brutal. They would do heinous things to the people they conquered, yet he still showed concern for them. But in time, when the crimes kept getting worse, he showed he would not tolerate injustice forever. Nineveh was eventually destroyed. And so when the iniquity of the people of the Promised Land was complete, and there was no turning back for them, God gave justice to those they had wronged along the way. To every nation and people they had committed grave sins against, he gave them justice. God's character is still the same. Even today, he's concerned with justice for all people, not just his people. Still to this day, he gives people every chance he possibly can. He did the same with the Israelites. Every possible chance was given before the exile, until they left him no choice. And so he gave them up to the consequences of their own actions. His traits and characteristics remain the same throughout the Bible. If you look for them, you'll see them. And his character fully reveals itself in the person of Jesus Christ, a man concerned with justice and doing what's right, especially for the poor and needy. God hasn't changed. God will never change. So if you need something to hold on to that won't change, hold on to God. He is the same God he is now as he was all the way back at the very beginning. The only one in all of existence that is never and will never change. But as for you and me, we must move forward. We must be willing to change, ready to change. For ourselves, for God, and for all those who still need our help, for the future generations who will come after us. Let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us, so that we can be the best servants we can be.